Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, we are going to learn about human heart. Okay, so human heart is a muscular pumping organ. What does it pump? It pumps obviously blood. It pumps blood throughout our body. Weight of an adult human's heart is almost 300 grams. Fine. It is located almost middle of our chest, in between two lungs, right? We often say that heart is located in our left side, right? But if we see this diagram here, we can see it clearly that heart is located in between our two lungs, right? These two our lungs, blue colored. Okay, so heart is located in between our lungs and it is almost in middle of our chest and very well protected by the rib cage. So if we see the diagram properly, so this portion is actually very much protected by the rib cage, right? Now heart is of conical shape of heart is what? Conical, right? So the lower conical part of the heart is somehow tilted towards left. So the lower conical part of heart is somehow tilted towards left. Okay, that's why it is often said that heart is in our left side, but that is not entirely true. The lower part is little bit tilted towards the left side. Okay, now size of human heart is like our fist. If you close your fist, the size you will see that is similar to our heart. Okay, so size, if you just need to compare that what is the size of our heart, so you can compare it with your fist. Size of human heart is almost same to our fist. If you close your fist like this, so the size you will see, the heart in your chest is almost similar to that. Okay, now we are going to study about heart in details. Fine. So our heart is four chambered, right? Our heart is what? Four chambered. Mammalian heart is always four chambered. It's mean there are four different room like structure inside our heart. So this fourth chamber is again divided into two categories. First we will see the receiving chambers, which is also called atrium. Atria is the plural term, atrium is the singular term. Atria or auricle. Fine. And the pumping chambers pumping chambers, that are the ventricles. Fine. Okay, now we are going to study the structure of heart via this diagram. Fine. Okay, just a moment. Okay, so this is internal structure of human heart. This is the internal structure of human heart. Fine. Okay. So here we can see 4 chambers. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. So these are the 4 chambers of human heart. Now, this portion is right atrium. It is written RA. I'm going to write it in full form. It is right atrium. This one is what? This one is right ventricle. Fine. This one is again left atrium. You can also call them auricle. Fine. And this one is left ventricle. So as I have mentioned earlier, that atrium or atria are receiving chambers. It means blood comes to atrium first. It means atria receives the blood. Fine. Now the function of right portion and left portion is very much different. Okay. So the right part deals with deoxygenated blood. Okay. So the right portion deals with deoxygenated blood. It's mean blood that is rich in carbon dioxide and less in oxygen. It's mean this blood doesn't have much oxygen. And the left part, that is this portion, okay, this portion is what? It deals with oxygenated blood. Okay, oxygenated blood. Fine. Now, if the right portion is dealing with deoxygenated blood, it's mean the blood is coming throughout the body. So right atrium receives blood throughout the body. By what? By vena cava. So we have, okay, so the vena cava, here the upper portion is called superior vena cava, and this, the lower portion, is called inferior vena cava. Right. So by superior vena cava, inferior vena cava, and coronary sinus. Okay. Through these channels, right atrium receives deoxygenated blood. Okay, so the blood that is received by right atrium is always deoxygenated. Fine. Now, once the blood entered the right atrium, it needs to do what? It needs to reach the right ventricle. Now, in between these two chambers, right atrium and right ventricle, there are valves. Okay, these valves are called atrio. Here I am writing atrioventricular valves. Okay, so here we can see a pair of valve, this one and this one. Okay, these are what? I'm going to mark it in some another color that it helps to. Okay, so these two valves are what? These two valves are atrioventricular valves. It helps to stop the backflow of blood from ventricle to atrium. Remember, blood is supposed to travel from atrium to ventricle. From atrium to ventricle it will travel. Okay, so these valves, these atrioventricular valves, stops the backflow of blood. Okay, stops the backflow of blood. It's mean blood will never go upward. Blood will never go upward. Okay, so that is the function of these atrioventricular valve. Okay, now this particular atrioventricular valve is called tricuspid valve. Okay, this one is called what? This one is called tricuspid valve. Okay, this one is called what? This one is called tricuspid valve. Why? Because there are three cusp-like structure. There are three cusp-like structure, or in very easy language, there are three folds. Okay, which stops the backflow of blood. Once it reach the ventricle, the right ventricle, from the right ventricle, the blood goes to the pulmonary arteries. Okay, so this one is pulmonary artery. These two are pulmonary arteries. Okay, this one and this one. Okay, they goes to both lungs. Okay, now this portion is called pulmonary trunk. Okay, this portion is called pulmonary trunk. Fine. So blood goes through pulmonary trunk, and via this pulmonary arteries it goes to lungs. They goes where? They goes to the lungs. We have two lungs, right? So this is what this is deoxygenated blood, right? Deoxygenated blood. This deoxygenated blood goes to lungs. Now here again we can see a pair of valves. Okay, I'm going to erase this portion. Okay. Okay. Here again we can see valves, right? This one and this one. These two are called semilunar valves. These two are called semilunar valves. So far we got to know two types of valves. One is atrioventricular valves or the cuspid valves, right? And here we got to know about the semilunar valves. Now this semilunar valves, it particularly known as pulmonary valves. I'm going to erase this portion a little bit. Now this valve is called pulmonary valve. Okay. Now blood, the deoxygenated blood enters the pulmonary trunk through this pulmonary valve. Okay, now what is the function of this pulmonary valve? Same as the and atrioventricular valve, that is it stops the backflow of blood. Okay, it stops the backflow of blood. It's mean blood will go only in this direction. Okay, blood will go only in this direction and never in this direction. It will never happen. Fine, that is the function of pulmonary valve. Now, if we see this diagram, we can see that our ventricles are divided by interventricular septum. Okay, interventricular septum. This is what? This is a septum, right? This is a septum. Interventricular septum. Now this interventricular septum is obliquely placed. Okay, this is irregular and obliquely placed. Because of this, what we can see, that left ventricle is little bit bigger. Okay, left ventricle is little bit bigger than the right ventricle. Fine. So the ventricles are divided by interventricular septum. Okay, now we are going to talk about the left side of the heart. In the left side of the heart, we will see left atrium and left ventricle. Fine. So I'm going to erase this portion. So this is the left atrium. Again I'm writing. And this one is the left ventricle. Now the left atrium, this one, the left atrium receives oxygenated blood. Okay, oxygenated blood via what? Via pulmonary veins. So left atrium receives blood via pulmonary veins. We have two pairs of pulmonary valves in pulmonary veins in both sides. So this is PV1, this is PV2, this is PV3, and this is PV4, right? So we have two pairs of pulmonary veins which comes from the lungs. It receives oxygenated blood. It receives oxygenated means O2 rich. Okay, O2 rich blood from lungs. Okay, now again it enters the left atrium, right? After entering, it will go to the left ventricle via bicuspid valve. This valve that we can see here is bicuspid. As I have mentioned earlier, these are these are atrioventricular valves. Okay, so this one in particular is called bicuspid valve. Okay, why? Because two cusps or two folder like structures are present. In this case there are three cusps, and in this case there are two cusps. Okay, so this is called bicuspid valve, also called mitral valve. Okay, same thing, two names, bicuspid valve and mitral valve. Okay, once the blood enters the left ventricle, okay, it goes to the aortic valve. So this valve, this one, I'll use some another color. Okay, this valve in particular, we can see two half moon shaped structure. This is what? This is aortic valves. Okay, this is aortic valve. Aortic. It goes to the aorta. Okay, this entire red portion that we can see, this is aorta. Okay, this is what? This is aorta. A is already written, so I am writing the rest. Aorta. Okay, once oxygenated blood comes to left ventricle, it's go to the aorta via aortic valve, and this is what? This is all oxygenated blood, right? This is all oxygenated blood, and this will go to entire body. Fine. So remember, in case of right atrium receives deoxygenated blood via superior and inferior vena cava and coronary sinus. Okay, this is deoxygenated blood. This deoxygenated blood enters the right ventricle. Okay, the backflow is stopped by tricuspid valve. It enters the pulmonary trunk. This portion is called pulmonary trunk. Fine. Via what? Via pulmonary valve. These moon shaped valves are called pulmonary valves. Okay, so it enters the pulmonary trunk and goes to lungs. Okay, this two part we can see, this is called pulmonary artery. Fine, pulmonary artery. See here, PA written, pulmonary artery. So pulmonary artery directly goes to lungs to dump the deoxygenated blood. Fine. So the reverse thing is happening in the left portion. So the left portion receives oxygenated blood via pulmonary veins. There are two pairs of pulmonary veins, right? Two pairs of pulmonary veins. Pulmonary vein 1, 2, 3, 4. Fine. So they receives oxygenated blood from lungs. Again, this blood enters the left ventricle via what? Via bicuspid valve, which is also called mitral valve. Fine. Now they entered the aorta via the aortic valve, and this oxygenated blood is spread all over our body. Fine. So this was the structure of our blood and how blood comes and goes in or out heart. This was the very basic concept of human heart's internal structure. Fine. Okay, so one thing I forgot to mention earlier, I'm going to mention it now, that our human heart is what is covered by a protective covering called pericardium. Okay, very important question. This is a very important question. All the coverings of different internal organs are important. Lung covering of brain, covering of lungs, the name of these coverings are very important. Now pericardium has layer. Okay, now these pericardial layers are filled with pericardial fluid. Okay, these pericardial layers are filled with pericardial fluid, okay, which protects the heart from injuries. Okay, so that's it for today's video. I'm going to explain the mechanism and function of blood in our next video. So for today's video, up to this much only. Thank you very much. If you like my content, please like, share and subscribe.